you listen to podcasts that sound like this? Hey, welcome back to the Super OK Podcast, where our audio sounds mediocre.
Or do you prefer podcasts that sound more like this? Crisp, clear, fun, easy to listen to, and full of awesomeness? Well, then you should check out Spoiler Country, hosted exclusively over at Spoilerverse.com.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Colton here from Bridging the Geekdoms, and a couple weeks ago, last week, I have no concept of time, I gave you guys a review, reaction, kind of a recap of American Horror Stories Season 1, Episode 1, Rubber Woman, Part 1. So, I only had time to watch the one episode. I have had time to catch up on the rest of the season, so obviously you're here to see Episode 2, and look forward to the rest of the season here in the near future. To recap what happens in Episode 1, Scarlett, Michael, and Troy, I think are her dad's names, all move into Murder House. They want to turn it into a horror bed and breakfast. Not a good idea, but, you know, whichever. So throughout the episode, you see that her dads are worried about her sadism. They find weird porn on her laptop. It's weird to have that underage talk, but, you know, hire a therapist, so on and so forth. And throughout the episode, she runs into Rubber Man, gets the latex suit, kind of gets possessed, and she gets bullied by these mean girls, popular girls, whatever you want to call them, in school. And the one flirts with her, gets her to go over to a sleepover, finds out that she just described all of her kinks on like Facebook Live or Instagram Live or something like that. And now the girls, she has ran home, put on the costume, and gave the girls an incentive. You have 30 minutes to come over. I'm going to kill myself. So they go over, they get freaked out. They all somehow end up in the basement, like every horror movie trope. And she murders them in the basement and hides their bodies. And that's how that episode 1 ends. So episode 2 kicks off, has to be weeks, maybe a month or two later. And you see this nurse running through the house who just got stabbed. And you find out that Ruby, a new spirit, has stabbed her, killed her, whatever, for the umpteenth time, since, you know, spirits can't leave Murder House. It kind of goes on. You find Scarlett and Ruby have this relationship, dating type thing, and they're in the tub together, and Ruby talks about her past and how her parents gave her up and she was given to her uncle, and they find out that that wasn't really her uncle. Her parents just sold her to them, and he tortured her. She eventually ran away. So she gets the bright idea, Ruby gets the bright idea, that, hey, I'm going to go to Murder House and kill myself in the house. So that way, you know, maybe I can get my parents' attention. And she finds out, you know, she goes to Murder House and kills herself. And she discovers that she doesn't get the popularity that she wanted. She only finds out the landlord at the time moves her body out, and she's just buried in the backyard and has lost the time, basically. So it pisses her off and makes her mad. Confirms or not confirms, she resides that inside Scarlett. And, you know, Scarlett's like, hey, it sucks. But at the end of it, Ruby looks at her and says, kill yourself so we can be together forever. And Scarlett's like, yo, it's only been like a couple weeks or so. Kind of shows that she's putting that in her head. So the next scene we get is the FBI, police, you know, sheriff, something like that, knock on the Murder House door, and her dad's answer the door, and they're still actively looking for the girls that went missing. And they found out through their phones that they were last here, and Scarlett was the last person to talk to them. So despite all of that, you know, her dad stand by her side that she didn't do anything. You know, they defend their daughter, which is the right parent thing to do until you can figure it out for yourself. So later that night, here's some things. She grabs a knife, she's laying in bed, and the girl she's killed, Maya, and the other ones are all in her room ready to kill her. She's like, what the fuck? I just killed you guys. Ruby, you know, comes to the aid of Scarlett and rescues her. While that's happening with Scarlett, like she's seeing the ghosts and going through all that, Michael and Troy's marriage is starting to fall apart. The black-haired one, I can't remember his name. I forget what their names are. The one with the black hair wants to sell the house because he's seen, you know, the piggy man, whatever, from the first season, and he's seeing the ghosts, and he wants out. The blonde one, on the other hand, wants to stay with it. He thinks they can recoup their money, and, they can be successful. Goes behind the other one's back and hires a private contractor to try to, we don't got any more money, do this as cheap as you can. And he starts flirting with the contractor. And the black-haired one walks in, sees this, and is like, what the fuck are you doing? And once out, he tries to throw him out of the house. He's like, no, I'm not about this. Troy, the blonde one, says, hey, I'm not going to cheat. But he ends up blowing the dude in the basement in the next scene. A Hispanic worker comes down and is like, hey, you guys, there's a terrible smell in this room. We don't know what it is. We think it's behind this wall. And they're like, okay, we'll figure this out. So they go into the room and they tear down the wall and they reveal the bodies of the girls. To which the Hispanic worker's like, oh my God. And he starts to freak out. And as he turns to walk away, the contractor caves his head in. He says, hey, he's a good guy, but he would have been a problem. We'll keep this a secret and, we'll get to working as soon as we can. We'll dispose of the bodies. And the contractor starts to get a little cocky as he's saying it. And he goes, or do you want to tell him about your marriage? And the black-haired guy's like, what the fuck? And, he's hurt, he's emotional, and he throws the contractor out. Rubber Man shows up, stabs him, kills him. And as the two dads are trying to flee, they run out of the house through the back door, and then they start running in a cycle, to which they find out we were killed. That's how they find out they were killed. And, you get a flashback of Ruby killing them so Scarlet would stay, in the house. So, Scarlet in school comes home, finds out the bodies have been found, her dads are killed, everything's just haywire for her. Ruby tells her, hey, I killed your dads, and tries to comfort her. The therapist remakes an appearance, and she's like, hey, her dads are sitting down like, how did we not know we were murdered? And she's like, hey, it's traumatic. And, they're like trying to get Scarlett's like trying to get her to talk about it, how she feels about it and everything. And instead of like properly, processing emotions, she's like, they're dead, but there's a Halloween party at the park tonight, so I'm probably going to go there, like. And as she's putting on the gimp suit, she's talking to Ruby, finds out, hey, Ruby can leave the house every Halloween. That's the one day a year that they can leave the house. And Maya and her popular Mean Girls group plan on killing Scarlet that night, killing her off the property so that way she can't be a murder house like ever again. Like her body, her soul, spirit won't reside there. So at the party, stuff's happening. Ruby's, I think she kicked the dude in the balls at this point in time. Scarlet has this talk with Ruby like, hey, quit trying to pressure me into killing myself in murder house. I want to live my life. Don't rob me of that decision. She doesn't want Scarlet to leave her because, she has the abandonment issue, but Scarlet also wants to live her life. They run into her friend, Scarlet's friend, at the party, and Ruby is an asshole and scares her off, and her friend calls Scarlet a psychopath and is like completely confused on why she's acting the way she is, and she runs off. And she ran off, and Maya and the Mean Girls run into her friend, Shanti sounds right. The group threatens to kill Shanti if she stands in the way of them killing Scarlet. Ruby sees this, she scares them off, and she's like, hey, any friend of Scarlet is a friend of mine. Scarlet's going through, just the entertainment of the horror party. I think it was a haunted house, and she sees Ruby killing an actor, and then she puts on the mask and kills another actor with her. They kind of have a moment, not really. You must see they're enjoying killing someone. But as they're doing that, you see Maya and the group come in, and they want to kill Scarlet. And Scarlet runs away as Ruby tries to hold him off. Scarlet hiding, Ruby finds her. They confess their love, but Scarlet wants to explore the world. They kind of have that. They go back to the murder house. Her and Ruby have a falling out. She describes like, hey, I want to see the world. I can't be here with you. And Maya plans on killing her. She's like, hey, I just want to go and get my things and leave. That's all I want to do. You guys can have Ruby. I'm not here to do anything. That's all I want. So they let her get in there, get her things, and then she leaves. So that's the overall theme of that. So the show picks up about 10 months later. Scarlet calls to check on Ruby and her dads and everybody. She's keeping tabs on them. It's kind of like Full House, but everybody's dead. It's a dead Full House. So as she's talking to Ruby about everything, Scarlet actually tracks down her Uncle Tony and puts on the rubber suit, rings Tony's doorbell, and kills him. And that's pretty much how episode 2 ends. This story arc, I still full-heartedly believe that American Horror Stories, this little spin-off show, was thoughts and ideas that they had to put into the actual seasons, but they couldn't make them fit. They wouldn't work, or, just there wasn't enough there. And you could see that in these 2 episodes. The Rubber Woman series, 2 episodes, really make no sense to the overall story of anything. It's a nice side story. Is it a story worth telling? No. Is it scary? No. Is it interesting? A little bit. But overall, the first 2 episodes of this season were kind of missed for me. The first episode, kind of interesting. This episode, I think they elaborated too much, or maybe not enough, or maybe they went around elaborating the wrong way, but I couldn't get into it. The first 2 episodes, real slow. I mean, it's interesting that there's kind of a happy ending, but not really, because she does come back at the end. But it's like she just left Murder House. Like they make no reference to anything else. It's kind of just like it was already developed and established. We had the side story that wouldn't fit into season 1, so here we go. Or we had this story we thought of after season 1. We had no reason to go back. So here you go. Here's a two episode arc. So with that being said, there is another. I was doing some research for this episode, and on IMDb, there is another episode, I'm assuming, that comes back to Murder House, because the actress Scarlet, who plays Scarlet, which I can't remember her name, along with Paris Jackson, who plays Maya, which is the leader of the Mean Girl group, do have another acting credit for an episode called Game Over, which I do think is episode 7 or 8 of the season. So I guess we go back to Murder House. I don't know. So if you like what you heard here, make sure you check out Spoilerverse.com. You can see, Misery Point Radio, Polygon Warriors, Bridging the Geekdoms, Spoiler Country, and tons of other things on that website. Make sure you click the bell, and subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff. We do interact with you guys. Follow us on Twitter at Bridging the Geekdoms. You should type that in, it'll pop up. With that all being said, thank you guys for watching, and make sure you guys continue to watch. I will have episodes 3, 4, and 4 I know out soon. I do have to watch episode 5. So with that being said, thank you guys. Have a good day.